You probably don't have the time or even the interest, quite frankly, to hear my entire list of the things that I'm thankful for. But at the very top of the list would be my relationship with a loving God, my amazing family, and the incredibly interesting life that I have lived. Then, not necessarily in order of importance, would be this amazing surprise of a new profession this late in life. Thanks to all of you for making it possible. It is hugely fun, reasonably profitable, and maybe it is doing a bit of good. Not sure, not clear. It depends on when you decide to believe me and when you decide not to, I suppose. Anyway, the markets are extremely flat today. Go. I don't know how that could be. Anyway, this is Randy Kirk. Hit like, subscribe, and notify. As always, please always hit like every day. If you can remember to do that, that would be very fantastic. Another thing I am thankful for was one of you, one of the crowd, one of those of you who follow this channel, who sent me this in the mail one day out of the blue and said, Randy, you might be able to make a little money on this on your channel. And he was 100% right. We've sold hundreds and hundreds of these, and the orders just keep coming in. So happily, for you, I hope right now, many of you are taking advantage of the Black Friday sale, even though we're not there yet. But going on right now, instead of $25 each, instead of $25, $45, and $65, you guys all have it memorized for 1, 2, or 3. Right now, it's $20. No matter how many you want to buy. So you know where to send it. PayPal.me/Randy Kirk, all in lower cap letters. And it doesn't matter how many you want to buy. It's $20. There's no freight involved. Just send the money over and we'll get them right out. Camo should be back in stock Monday, Tuesday. And please always let me know. Camo are regular. That saves both of us a little time. And then if you're outside the country, of course, add that extra $20. No matter how many you're buying, add $20 to help me with the freight. All right. Oh, yes. This will be the only show today. And we will go back to normal with 3 shows tomorrow. All right. Including Larry at the end of the day on Good News Friday. All right. Barron's is saying this morning that the inverted yield curve is stabilizing. Does that mean it's going to become the norm? In other words, are we always going to have people that want more interest for short term than they want for long term? Well, I don't think so. But what is it going to take to move short term yields lower than long terms, which is almost always the case? Now, probably for 1 year out of 8 or something, or 1 year out of 7, it does this inversion thing. Anyway, I've seen some speculation how it could be forced. In other words, the Fed could take some moves. I don't fully get it. I need to do a little more study to get a full understanding of how the Fed could move things around to where it would force this yield curve to re-invert. But I'm really curious about what it's going to take for investors to flip their script in terms of what they want, in terms of what they're willing to pay for. I was amused, however, by this statement in this opinion piece. I think you've heard me say it more than a few times. Here's how the quote goes. There's often a correlation between a yield inversion and an economic slump because it reflects an anticipation of lower Fed rates in the future. So in other words, you've got this inversion that takes place. The inversion takes place for 8 months, 10 months, 12 months, 15 months, 20 months. People have all these different, they say, well, it could be anywhere from 14 to 22 months or something like that. And then somewhere after that, and in particular, after it begins to re-invert into a normal situation, then you have the recession a month later or 3 months later or 5 months. Very, very weird. Anyway, but this article goes on to say, but this one has lasted so long now that even if a recession does arrive in the next few months, the predictive power of the inversion should be in doubt. I don't know where you've heard that said before. Maybe not just me, but I know you've heard it from me. All right. Anyway, yeah, I think this inversion thing this time is not anywhere close to being something that is going to tell us when this recession, if it ever comes, is coming. And I do think it is at least partially to do with this massive disruption that we've had with regard to all kinds of supply, and also maybe the demographic shift taking place at the same time. Maybe the housing shortage is playing into it. There's a bunch of stuff going on, a bunch of stuff that we've just never seen before. I had a list of those one time. You might want to go back and I'll never find that video. There's 600 videos that I've done this year. I'll never find that video. But basically, there's a bunch of stuff happening right now, like 8, 10, 12 things happening that have never happened before. That massive infusion of capital into the system was one of them. The aging population, the wealth now being 100% in the hands of the old folks. The shortage of housing that continues to be a huge impact on the economy. The huge thing that was caused by COVID and the aftermath of the COVID situation causing all these disruptions. All of these things are playing out in the economy. And yes, there's a bunch of stuff that's normal, but there's a bunch of stuff that isn't. And so because these things are completely brand new, economists don't seem to be saying, okay, let's step back and think outside the box about this convergence of these very different circumstances that we can't really look to history for any example to make a decision about. So anyway, that's what I try to do. I'm trying to look outside that box. I'm trying to say, okay, as things now change, what kinds of thinking do we need to change in order to be able to be slightly more effective at predicting the future? All right. Trueflation dropped a bunch to 2.88, down from 3.13 just a couple of days ago. I took a deeper look at what seems to be happening, and what basically is happening is this: nothing is going up. So there's been a drop in alcohol and tobacco. That's like the first. That has not been happening. There's another more drop in housing, in particular on rents, because residential housing still going up a little tiny bit, but rents are going down. So overall, that is now flat. Health is going up a tiny bit, but we know that's a statistical issue, and we think that will continue. But basically, if we continue to see flat, in other words, nothing going up, well, what will that mean? Over time, we'll be down to zero, right? If we're flat for 12 months, then the 13th month, we will be at zero, but we'll be going toward zero the whole time. Well, the Fed doesn't want us to be at zero. They want us to be at 2%. I know we all have short attention spans, but if you go back and look at headlines from 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, what you're going to see is the Fed worrying, how can we get inflation up to 2%? Remember those? Okay. So anyway, I think prices are declining. As you know, you've heard me say it 100 times. I think we're going to see a actual deflation taking place, and that will cause us to reach zero much sooner. And that is not what the Fed wants. So that is when we'll see cuts in rates. I don't pretend to be an expert or even really a lot more knowledgeable than the next guy on this entire AI thing, but I do probably have 1,000 hours of my 10,000 hours necessary to become an expert in studying it. I don't think I'm ever going to be willing to dig deep enough into it, because it's like your brain explodes when you start going too deeply into it. But there is a very long piece on X today that boiled down to the following. I think this is the critical part that's going to be an issue with as we get closer and closer to FSD. So this is my analysis of it. See if you let me know in the comments below if you think I got this right. Every time the computer geniuses try to replicate human behavior in order to move towards a solution of improving computer intelligence, they run up against maximums that seem impenetrable. I can say that. Yeah, so they want to mock the human brain. They want to stand on the shoulders of giants. They want to take all human knowledge and then try to use that to get to the next level. So this is what happened with chess. This is what happened with Go. This is what happened with language models is, hey, they got a lot of results out of replicating or looking at human behavior and just trying to do better and better and better at that. But then they'd get to these maximums and they couldn't get any further. And these computer geniuses keep making the same mistake over and over again, according to this article. They keep making the mistake. They made the mistake with chess. And then all of a sudden, one day they woke up and they go, no, we're not going to get there by using human knowledge and improving on human knowledge. What we need to do is have the computer play against itself. And they learned the lesson, and all of a sudden they were better than any human at chess. Then they made the same mistake on Go. And they went a long way. And then finally they had the computer play itself in Go. And now the computer is better at Go than any human. And then they did the same thing with large language models. And a year ago, we had this breakthrough on GPT when they finally said, no, we need to have the computer training the computer. And that's the only way you get the breakthrough. Well, so this morning, Elon said, yeah, this is true. So what we've had with FSD is we've been putting all this data in from human behavior and then looking for edge cases and looking for ways to improve on the human experience. But no, now what we're having is we're having the dojo and the rest of the FSD training system is training on itself. It is teaching itself, not based on human behavior, but based on perfect behavior, and then training itself at higher and higher levels. And so Elon said this was true in response to the post. So that's what gives me some additional hope this morning that FSD might be close. I'm still worrying about such things as backing up. I'm still worrying about such things as how you make sure you don't cloud up your lenses and how all that's going to work. But I suspect that they know about those issues. Okay, I just quoted him again. I quoted him the other day, but I'm going to quote him again. I got R. Bremer, who sends me notes a lot, and he sends me a note yesterday saying he had gone over to one of the showrooms to see a Cybertruck in person, and he says, and he was super, super impressed by being in the presence of the beast, of the machine. He went on and on about it was just like you until you're actually in the room with it, you can't imagine how impressive it is. Anyway, going to be a fun week as we go into the handover just 7 days from today. Would it be in bad taste for me on Thanksgiving to go a little bit contrarian to my normally fully optimistic self? Well, here it goes. I found this article from MarketWatch to be compelling, and so I thought I need to pass along to you. In his latest note to Societe Generale clients, Albert Edwards, the Societe Generale global strategist, who is widely followed for his bearish takes on the economy and markets, highlighted two leading indicators that have preceded economic downturns in the not too distant past. So here I go. After I just said you can't look at history, but I want to make sure that I'm clear. The fact that I'm saying we need to go outside the box doesn't mean we don't look at for history for analysis. It only means that we can't 100% look at history for analysis. We have to look at history, and then we have to add on top of history the changes, the differences, and the things that are going to make things wildly different than we've ever seen before. Can I give this quick example? Nah, never mind. It's too long. Okay, so let's go on with the article. These two things should help convince skeptics that the recession that Wall Street has been waiting for since early 22 might still be in the cards, he added. Might is the operative word there. Firstly, employment in logistics jobs like trucking have cratered this year as pandemic-related overhangs in demand for goods have persisted. So as you know, I'm always talking about the logistics issue. I will be giving, as I always do at the end of the month, I will give you the amount of tonnage that's being shipped in the United States and also by ship, ships and trucks and rail. I'll give you those tonnage numbers and we'll see what's happening there. It hasn't been horrible. So this guy's talking about employment in those areas. Well, I'm not as interested in employment as I am in the tonnage. And so the tonnage numbers have been down. They've been soft for many, many months, as has manufacturing been soft. So it's not unexpected that you would see this softness, but it hasn't been horrible. So anyway, we'll see what happens next week when those numbers come out. He says the logistics industry happens to be one of the best cyclical canaries to have down your coal mine. Oh, I just talked about it. Anyway, we have previously shown that falls in trucking jobs normally precede recessions. I would agree with that, but I would think that tonnage is better. But if that isn't convincing enough, Edwards pointed to the temporary help subset of services employment, which has also seen a decisive downturn this year, mirroring a pattern that played out ahead of recessions in 2001, 2007. Once again, I agree. I think that normally you would look at the fact that you're not having as many folks needed for temporary help positions. You would see that as being possibly pre-recessionary. However, as someone who's hired thousands That's probably high. Hundreds and hundreds of temporary laborers over the years in my manufacturing business, and as someone who has recommended it in, I think, the last 3 books that I've written, and in my mastermind groups and everywhere else, I talk to all of my clients about how clever, how smart it is to hire temporary help, especially if you're seasonal. Anyway, I know a lot about this part of the business, and what I'm going to tell you is the fact that there's not a lot of temporary help being hired right now is still part of this settling down of the overall craziness that we've gone through the last couple of years. So companies who would normally be hiring temporary help right now, they're sliding in this almost useless person. I'm sorry, that's mean. They've got this person that's underperforming, and they've got them in a position that's too good it's above their pay grade. And so now they need somebody over here. They grab that person and they throw them into that situation rather than laying them off, seeing if maybe they'll work out in that position. So no, I don't think it's recessionary. I think it is a normal situation. Do I think that we're going to have slower GDP growth in the next 3 or 4 quarters than we had last quarter? Yes. Do I think we're going to go into recession? Absolutely not. All right. So next week, I already said all that. All right. The Model 3 Plus reviews keep getting better. This is from a guy called Tesla Europe on X. He says the upgraded Model 3 was named Best Car You Can Buy in Norway by Motor.co. Tesla is preparing to roll out the FSD in China. No word yet on the cost to buy it or on the subscription rate in China. Most are saying that this rollout, which should start later in December, is an evidence of substantial progress on FSD and should be, something that we should be interested in. Last night, on another subject, I reported completely off of what I normally talk about. I did a whole YouTube video on the fact that Putin was making peace overtures at the G20 meeting. I gave that report based on one source that was on the Drudge Report. I said when I reported it was a bit questionable. Well, it turns out I was 12 hours late to the story. It had been broken by Reuters earlier in the morning, and it was picked up by a bunch of people, but it got like no coverage, like nobody cared. So, I mean, it was like I saw maybe 4 headlines on it all day, and then finally this headline on Drudge late at night, and it was his main piece. So he was the only one who, besides me, that thought it was important. But let me just throw it out this way as a very positive way to end this Thanksgiving version of the thing. In the last week, we have had Xi coming to San Francisco and making peace overtures. And whose economy is in real shambles and real trouble? Oh, that would be China. Then we've got Putin giving peace overtures yesterday, and his economy is worse than Russia's. and then we have a ceasefire and hostage release taking place in Israel. Man, I hope this is a trend. So how's that for an optimistic end? All right, you got it? All right, so this will be the only episode for today. I'm off to my brother's, going to get a chance to visit with my 97-plus-year-old mom and my brother and sister-in-law, their son. And so heading down to San Diego to do that. I will be back bright and early tomorrow morning. As usual, we will have 3 shows tomorrow, 2 to 3 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. And, we're back into the routine. So remember to get your Cybertruck bottle opener, $20, no matter what quantity you want. And is that all I got to say? That's it. That's all I got for now. So happy Thanksgiving to all of you. I hope you have a phenomenal day, and I hope that you have plenty to be thankful for. And remember, there is nothing like going down that list and contemplating the list of the things that you're thankful for to make your day brighter. Been great talking to you.